Yo, what is going on, everyone? Thank you for joining me for another manga chapter review. And in today's video, we're going to be going ahead and taking a look at the brand new chapter from MyHeroAcademia, chapter 355, titled Extras. And before we jump into the video, guys, I want to go ahead and say thank you guys so very much for all the support you guys showed me on my last video. That video was absolutely crazy. You guys left some of the best comments on that video, so I just wanted to go ahead and give you guys a little shout out. And just thank you guys so very much for all the support you guys show me. If it wasn't for all the support you guys show, I really wouldn't even have the motivation to bring you guys the videos the way I do. So thank you again so very much for all the support. But if you guys are new to the channel and love anime and manga related content such as this, please consider sticking around and subscribing, as I'll be bringing you guys even more anime and manga related content. I have some videos that I am working on currently, so please be patient and I will be uploading them very, very soon. But yeah, guys, if you guys do like today's video, go ahead and drop a like to help the video out, as well as let me know what you guys thought of the video as well as the chapter. What do you guys think of the chapter overall, and what do you think is going to happen in the next chapter? But with all that out of the way, guys, let's just go ahead and jump into the chapter already. Starting off chapter 355, we are paired with Endeavor after he received a brutal attack from All For One in the previous chapter. With Endeavor seemingly out of the fight and blasted away, he lies unconscious. While unconscious, he begins to envision both Todoroki and Toya, as well as caring for their well-being. After having these visions, Endeavor wakes up immediately bashing himself for letting himself be provoked and lured in by All For One. Taking accountability for him being the sole responsibility for this fight, attempts to mend his wounds sustained and rejoin the others in the battle. With the action now returning of the trio of Hawks, Jiro, and Tokoyami, Hawks, realizing the situation they are now in without Endeavor, tells himself that he has to stall until Endeavor's return. Tokoyami tells Hawks to save his breath and that the reason for them being there is to assist him after all. Seeing and admiring the young hero's resolve, he asks him, "Will you save me again, hero?" Accepting his mentor's request, All For One interjects, telling them that playtime is over, as well as how he cannot afford anything to happen to his other me. With All For One stating that the blow dealt to Endeavor earlier wasn't fatal, meaning that he'll return, thus making their objective to stall him for time. Not wanting to be halted, he directs his assault on who he deems as being the weakest link, and that being Jiro. With All For One focusing on Jiro now, Hawks manages to use the attacks as an opening for his own, with him slicing All For One and Tokoyami protecting Jiro. Hawks instructing Tokoyami to take the lead, he tells Jiro that using her sound waves against All For One can crack his mask. Jiro, almost being revitalized with this boost of motivation, lets herself know that she knew what she was getting herself into. Further going into how she almost didn't see his attacks, along with her goosebumps having delays in the malice he threw her way. Now being able to empathize with both Midoriya and Aoyama, she learns of what exactly the both of them have been dealing with all along. All For One returning sequences of attacks at Jiro, he continues his verbal warfare by trying to goad her by asking her, "Did you think this would be a school trip?" Unleashing a devastating barrage that all three were on the receiving end of, All For One tells Hawks that in his current state that he is utterly useless, as well as Tokoyami and Jiro that they weren't even worthy of facing the Demon Lord. Jiro, now becoming incensed after hearing his words, she tells him that all she knows is that he's made her friends cry, ushering the notion that all of All For One's perception of her was ill-perceived, as she will not give up and aid everyone to her fullest ability. Sending her heartbeat wall legato at him, All For One is unimpressed as he is seemingly about to counter the young hero's attack. But before he can do so, we see what looks to be the manifested spirits of all the quirks All For One has stolen, and they are trying to restrain him. Not believing what is transpiring, he believes this to be the side effect of New Order. Finally getting a glimpse of the hero's resolve, Hawks quickly soars alongside Jiro's attack to strike down All For One. Hawks attacking the same spot of All For One's mask, he is able to finally crack the Demon Lord's mask successfully. With the chapter coming to a close, we are given a final panel of All For One's mask breaking and his face becoming exposed. With the chapter leaving off on a hopeful conclusion, will the teamwork of Hawks, Jiro, and Tokoyami be enough until Endeavor returns? Or will All For One turn the tides of battle back into his favor with a dastardly trick? And alright guys, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap up the synopsis of chapter 355. Now we're going to go ahead and move on over into my thoughts of the chapter as a whole. And whew, guys, do I have to say this was a very interesting chapter to say the least. I just want to start out by saying that I really thought this chapter was pretty good. Personally, I'm just going to say this right now. Personally, I don't think it was too crazy of a chapter. Right? I think it definitely was a very good chapter. I will say that. But I don't think it was, like, super, super crazy, like ridiculous flames, fire, like I originally anticipated I thought it was going to be. Because we have been, like, kind of on, like, a little bit of a odd period, right? Because I know a lot of people weren't really feeling like the Todoroki versus Dabi fight. A lot of people criticized it and said it was too short. And like a lot of people just said that, like, oh, it was pretty much just Dabi's backstory and then Todoroki beat him, which I can definitely see. But I still like thoroughly enjoyed those chapters. I am a little bit interested to see more of the inclusion of Jiro and Tokoyami backing up Hawks and Endeavor eventually. Overall, I would give this chapter a solid, I would give it an 8 out of 10, right? Like, I definitely did enjoy it, right? I definitely don't want anyone to have the impression that, like, oh, you know, this chapter was mid, it was, you know, stupid, or, like, you know, it was whack. But I definitely wanted to see, like, perhaps a little bit more, but I will say this, I do think that my favorite part about this chapter is seeing how New Order from Stars and Stripes is still affecting All For One even at this very moment. With All For One almost getting ready to nullify Jiro's attack, and the spirits and the wills of all of the people he's stolen quirks from, like, restraining him and trying to, like, hold him back. I think that was absolutely, like, a very brilliant way of, like, showing that, like, hey, you know, New Order's like side effects are still going to be persisting throughout the whole, like, battle. So it's not like Shigaraki overcame New Order and now he is, like, sort of, like, okay with it or anything like that. I do suspect that we'll probably see more instances like this, probably with All For One as well as Shigaraki as this arc continues. I'm very interested to see if they'll be able to, like, flip the quirk in such a manner to where All For One perhaps will be able to, like, make it to where All For One, or not All For One, excuse me, New Order is able to be at his disposal. Now, that would be a little bit weird, but it is interesting to note because maybe we will see All For One and Shigaraki rendezvous with each other, and that point, All For One will steal some sort of, like, New Order within Shigaraki, like maybe like a remnants of it will still be present with him, and that way he can be able to steal it. But that I am not sure. I'm just kind of like theorizing on that one. But yeah, guys, I really like this chapter. I'm very interested to hear what you guys are going to be thinking about this chapter. I have seen a few people talking about the chapter already, and a lot of people are not too pleased on Jiro's inclusion on in this fight. I mean, I can definitely see it. A lot of people criticize, like, her saying, "Oh, you made my friends cry," and then, like, her inclusion being able to, like, stand up to All For One. Now, I will say this, like seriously, like, I do think that is, like, there has to be some things that are explained, like perhaps maybe Jiro got a serious power buff in the duration that they were training, right, before the second war arc, because I don't really see how Jiro was able to, like, effectively stop All For One. It's got to be explained a little bit more. Like, you know, guys, I like to have faith in these mangakas. I want to give a little bit more faith to Hirokoshi. I do think we're going to get a little bit of an explanation on Jiro, and maybe her quirk was perhaps maybe a counter to All for One's, especially with his mask. I'm not quite sure, but I do agree with people that maybe Jiro being as like as fair as All for One is kind of like it's definitely out there, right? So I mean, it would have been more believable if it was like, Bakugo or Todoroki or, of course Midoriya, but Jiro of all people, I'm still scratching my head on that. I think that's ultimately what kind of made the chapter a little less hype, because trust me, I love Jiro. I love all the characters, but I don't think that Jiro possibly should have had this like big of an impact on All for One. I'm not quite sure, guys. I want to know your guys' comments and thoughts on that in the comment section below, but I'm not quite sure if with this we're going to be jumping between fights. I know that we didn't jump between fights between the Todoroki and Dabi fight, so it will be interesting to see if we're like going to be shuffling around fights between Midoriya making his way to Shigaraki and all the other heroes and villains fighting. So very interested to see. Now, unfortunately, My Hero will be on a break next week, and Jujutsu Kaisen is on a break this week. So unfortunately, we only get My Hero this week. So I am going to be looking forward to the next chapter of My Hero. I want to see a little bit more, but overall, a very decent and solid chapter. And I did really enjoy reading it. I think I'm probably even going to read it again just to really feel things out. But yeah, guys, if you guys did like the video, go ahead and hit that like button and let me know what you guys thought of the chapter and the review down in the comment section below. Did you guys like it? Were you guys a little put off by the Jiro inclusion against All for One? Do let me know, because I am seeing a lot of flack on Horikoshi about this, like especially with Endeavor being put out of the fight so early. With it's leaving it's leaving a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. But let's remain hopeful, guys. Come on, it's not over yet. So it could very well be like a very goated fight. So let's remain positive and let's be respectful. So if you guys do have any comments, please leave them down in the comment section below. I love reading all your guys' comments. And if you guys are new here, please consider sticking around and subscribing if you guys do love anime and manga related content such as this. And with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and head out. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. See ya.